is Friday night, hangout, creating our stories, piece by piece. This is Friday night, hangout, creating our stories, piece by piece. Exploring limitless opportunities, illuminate our path, amplify our impact. Oh, it's Friday night hangout. Ooh, it's Friday night hangout. It's safe space for.
Are you feeling stuck in your business, professional or personal life? Or are you struggling to find purpose and direction? Imagine having a clear sense of direction, achieving your goals and living a fulfilling life. Joy Onyesoh Coaching Consult is here to help you. We will work with you to identify your strengths, overcome obstacles, and develop a personalized plan to achieve your dreams. With our coaching and consulting services, you will gain clarity, confidence, and the tools you need to succeed. Do not let fear, lack of clarity, or doubt hold you back any longer. Take the first step towards achieving your goals and living your best life. Contact Joy Onyesoh Coaching Consult today. Joy Onyesoh Coaching Consult, empowering you to reach your full potential. Call, SMS, or WhatsApp +234 704 229 1171. Or you can visit our website www.joyonyesohcoachingconsult.com. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Friday Night Hangout. Whoa, welcome. This is season 23, episode 250. Last week, we talked about how to get started, making sure all is going. And in fact, the conversation for this month has been centered around the theme from startup to stay up. So it's not just starting up, but having that ability to stay up. So tonight, we're going welcome to Friday Night Hangout. I am Joy Onyesoh, your host, and I'm always excited to welcome you to Friday Night Hangout. And so tonight we continue the conversation, and I invite you to, just subscribe to the Friday Night Hangout YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, to the Power Woman TV Facebook page. Now, there is a question I want you to reflect on as we, continue this conversation. And that is for you to think, when was the last time you intentionally celebrated your progress? That seems like a surface question, yeah, but it's very deep. And the truth is, most of us are always on the move, that we don't spare enough time to sit and think about what we have done, what we have achieved, and to actually celebrate our micro and macro win. And so tonight, that's what we're going to be discussing on. How do we track wins and tell our stories? That's our proof of progress. You want to focus not on just what is missing, but also on what you're achieving as you move along. The truth is that progress becomes clearer when it is tracked. Your stories matter even when you're still growing. And you want to take charge of your narrative. You want to tell your story. You want to frame your story in a way that matters to you and tells it the exact way you want it to be understood. You have to take charge of your narrative. So don't forget to use our social call to action button, #TGIF or #FNH with Joy Onyesoh. And also, don't forget to turn on your notification button on YouTube when you subscribe to our Power Woman TV or Friday Night Hangouts. Now, I when I talk about this topic today is from a personal experience as well. There was a time in my life when I did not think it something major or huge to tell my story, right? And of course, what I found out is when you don't tell your story, you give other people the permission to tell your story the way they want to tell your story. They frame it the way they understand it. Perspective really matters and it's different. And when I became more intentional in telling my story, and that could be the way you show up, the way you keep your records, the way you document, and all of that, you would see that it helps you to be more intentional. You can begin to notice patterns. You begin to understand yourself better. You know what triggers you, you know when you operate on a higher productivity level. In fact, it takes you to another level of growth. So if you've not been keeping track, if you've not been measuring your progress, now will be the time. And sometimes when you think you've not done enough, and you just look back, you say, wow, I did this, I did this, I did that. Oh my, you wouldn't even know how far you have grown. I was having a conversation with a sister some weeks back, and she said something that struck me and has stayed with me ever since. She said, Joy, you have gotten too familiar with yourself that so many big things you do, you just take it as normal. You just see it as, things that are not worth celebrating. And she went on to mention a number of things. And honestly, until you start celebrating yourself, you wouldn't give others the permission to celebrate you. And so tonight we're going to be talking on why tracking matters. We'll look at how you learn to celebrate small wins. But let's start from the first one, which is, why do you need to track your progress? And I will put it this way: whatever is worth doing is worth measuring. So if you're doing something at all, then you need to measure. Because when you measure your progress, one thing it gives to you is self-confidence. You say, wow, I achieved this. I was able to do 1, 2, 3. And then you see your confidence level will begin to soar, right? Then also it gives you an opportunity to reflect. When you're measuring your progress, you have opportunity of reflecting on some actions you've taken, some that worked well and didn't work well. So when we're talking about progress, I also want you to think about it in a broader sense. It mustn't always be a win story. Sometimes it's in those stories that did not work well that you get the nuggets and insights to take better decisions moving forward, lessons learned, yeah? And then you also want to know that celebrating your small wins creates momentum. It helps you to keep moving. When you look at what you've achieved, you're able to be specific about what you've achieved. It gives you the momentum to keep moving. Now, the other thing about measuring your progress is it helps you to stop over-flogging yourself. Honestly, some of us do not do ourselves justice. You keep telling yourself, oh, you didn't do this well. You don't know how to do this. You're so focused on the gaps. You're so focused on your areas of weakness. And I want to tell you something tonight. What you focus on grows. So if you keep paying attention to what is not working, you will keep expanding that energy. And a lot of things that are not working will keep showing up. So you want to be very intentionally paying attention to what is working, no matter how small it is. It helps you to avoid constant self-criticism. Now, it also helps you to appreciate your discipline and your consistency in showing up no matter what. There's sometimes I look back and I'll say, wow, I remember when I lost my dad in 2024. I had the program before me. I usually host this annual Broken But Remolded program. It's a Christian based program, where we move from city to city. And it was, my dad died, I think 2 weeks to the first outing, and it was such a traumatic time for me. Now I ask myself this question: do I shut down everything and just stay in that grief? Or do I give myself some days to mourn and then keep moving and then come back to deal with what I'm feeling? And honestly, a number of my team members thought the program would not hold, right? But when you understand that you are working in alignment, and when you understand that life would happen no matter how prepared you are, there are certain things that happen to you, and you give yourself that permission to keep moving forward. I was able to do the program. After I concluded the program in March, I gave myself the permission to really grieve. Because of course, when you lose a loved one and someone as dear to me as my dad, of course, it's something that is going to take out a lot from me, and which it did, right? But when I look back at that time, I tell myself, girl, you've built up a lot of resilience, you've built up discipline, and of course, you've built up a lot of consistency. Sometimes, even when I show up for Friday night hangout, it's not that it's convenient, it's not easy, but it's because I recognize that even if it's one person, I will show up today. I would let my voice be heard. I would allow that person who has come on, who is expecting to receive, the person won't go away disappointed. And that's what I want you to also think about. When you forget to track, you forget to give yourself the accolades. You forget to give yourself the flowers that you so deserve, right? Now, you begin to understand that growth, personal growth, is beyond the results that you see. The process is as important as the result that you achieve. So don't get focused on the end. Get also intentional about the process. So maybe you've not achieved the results, right? But you are consistent. You show up. You find out that if you've been struggling in some areas, even in public speaking, now you can come up at short notice, you can speak, you can convey your thoughts, you can, inspire others, you can motivate others to looking beyond their situation and to just keep showing up for themselves. That's a huge win. That's a huge win. And so I don't want you to go anywhere. Stay right here. When we get back, we're going to be talking about the power of telling your story and how we build momentum through reflection. So don't go anywhere. Stay with me and let's take this short ad.
In every movement that changes the world, there are voices that rise and hands that hold up the vision. She Speaks is more than a summit. It is a global call for women to rise, to lead, and shape the future. And behind this bold vision are partners who believe, partners who invest, amplify, and stand shoulder to shoulder with us. Today, we are honored to unveil the partners who are amplifying our message and helping us shape the future. Join us as we celebrate the power of collaboration and collective impact. From supporting women's leadership to creating platforms for impact, our partners are helping build a world where every woman's voice is heard. Together, we are unstoppable.
So welcome back. That was the She Speaks advert. We are just showing some of the partners we have. So if you haven't registered for She Speaks Summit 2026, my dear, you want to register and be in that room. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be intimate. We're in our bridge here. This is the 9th edition of She Speaks as we begin to prepare for our 10th anniversary. I can't wait to see you in that room. So this is a big thank you to our partners who, support us in making sure that every year we host the She Speaks Summit. Thank you to 2K Stores, to T-Message, to Female Stability, to Mavico Foods and Frontier Partners. Thank you so much for all you do in making sure that She Speaks is or it always holds and is that impactful. Now, we move on to what I told you we're going to talk about next, and that's the power of telling your story. So if you're in doubt why you should tell your story, I'm going to give you 3 very strong reasons why you need to tell your story. The first is that your journey can inspire others. Haven't you heard when people say, oh, I heard you share your story. And in fact, I became energized. I became encouraged. I remember the first time I came out publicly to share my story, my journey with my special needs daughter days. Oh my goodness. My DM was flooded with messages, with appreciation. I got to, until date, it's always like that. It began a new journey and a new season for me. So I'm able to inspire. So sometimes when you find people sharing their story, they're not just sharing it because they love to share it. They're sharing it because they want you to be encouraged. Now, sometimes the story is not always in the positive. It could be challenges, it could be trials, it could be growth, it could be positive things that have happened. But the key thing is you frame your story and you share your story to encourage others on their journey. The other thing is it helps to build connection. When you're authentic about who you are, about your experience, there is a connection. When you come on and you read or you listen or you watch when someone is being authentic, it will connect with you. It will resonate with you, right? And that's why I always encourage us to be as authentic as you can. Once you can show your vulnerability, then how do you invite others to be vulnerable with you? I'm not saying you should put out all your private moments out there, but you can choose the part that you've healed from, that you're comfortable sharing, so others could, listen, could watch, could read, and they're inspired, and they're connected with you. That's how you build your tribe. So when you want to build a community, your mess becomes your message, and you can build your community around that. I was able to build my Broken But Modern ministry around my experience and nurturing my special needs daughter. And that has connected me with women going through kinds of losses, going through, that not necessarily having children with special needs, but going through very trying, challenging times. And, my story becomes, an encouraging factor for them. It becomes something they can hold up to inspire them, and we can connect on that level where we look at the pain, how our pain turns into purpose, right? So it's very important that you're authentic, so you could drive that connection with anyone who wants to hear your story or is going through certain things you must have gone through or you may have surmounted. Now, when we go through things or when we have an experience, there are lessons from those experiences, right? And those lessons become wisdom that you share. So when you look back, you say, these are things I did that did not work well. Given the opportunity, if I have to do this again, I may not do it this way. From experiences you've gone through, you gain more knowledge, more insight, right? And then you're able to share those wisdom so that people do not go through that route you went through. Your wisdom becomes the building block for their own journey. So it is important. Whatever you go through in life is not just for you alone, it's for others as well. So look at the lessons that may be helpful to someone and share that lesson. Now, what it does when you're able to tell your story, is that it helps you to build momentum through reflection. So when you're able to journal, you see how far you have progressed. You're able to interrogate. You're able to say you did this, you did that. You get very specific with things that you have done. You can see your growth pattern, and it gives you the courage to keep moving on, because you can look at, if I could do this, why can't I do more? It helps you to review your progress, and you're able to keep moving. Now, another thing it helps you to do is that you're able to measure. Remember, I said anything not what measuring is not what doing. You want to measure what you've done, because it becomes your leverage for bigger things or bigger opportunities, right? Then you also want to stay encouraged during those uncertain, chaotic times. Listen, no matter how well prepared you are, no matter how consistent you may be, no matter how knowledgeable you may be, there will be seasons in your life where you are stretched. And it's being able to look back, it's being able to reflect on how you're able to surmount some challenges, being able to look back at some of the results you have achieved that will give you that courage to keep holding on no matter what. So when you need to show up no matter what is happening, that is what gives you the consistency to show up. So you don't want to play around with it. Now, this is our interactive moment. I always love to hear from you. So don't forget to use the hashtag FNH with Joy Onyesoh, or hashtag Friday Night Hangout, or hashtag TGIF. Always love to see that energy. So keep it coming in. Keep it coming in. And while you're at it, I want to ask you one question. And that is, what is one progress that you have made, or one win that you are proud of this year? If you've not taken time to do this, I let this be that moment when you think back. In a few days, we'll be going into the last month of this first half of 2026. And this is the right time to start evaluating, reflecting, evaluating, asking yourself those questions. Because I would expect that by now, you're doing your evaluation, your personal evaluation, and you're getting ready to see some things you need to adapt, you need to tweak, you need to get better for the second half of 2026. So write it down. I want to say it in the chat box. And remember, it's not just about you, it's also about others. Every other person, sharing their own story, we can encourage, you can from others. So, this life is, you can't run it in isolation. A single tree cannot make a forest. You want to look around and learn from others. It helps you to expand your worldview, open up your mind to possibilities. Your way is not the only way. There are other ways of achieving results. Now, before we wrap up this exciting conversation this night, I'm excited because it's a very good way to wrap up this month and to usher us into an amazing 6th month, which is the June month, which, by the way, is my best month. I'm always excited when it gets to the month of June. I want you to remember this. Progress deserves recognition. And I'm not just talking about external recognition. I'm talking about you recognizing your process, you validating your growth. You don't need external validation to feel good. You need to recognize your progress and validate how far you have come. And every stage of your growth matters. Every stage, it matters. And that's why you need to track and tell your story. Your story is being written. It's not over. So your story is still written, and you have the ability to rewrite. You have the ability to redesign. It's all in your hands. So don't give that power away, and don't minimize the power that comes with writing your story. Your story is still in progress. It's not over with you yet. It doesn't matter where you are right now. Growth will happen. So take up that challenge of writing your story. So before I wrap up finally, I want to encourage you to do some things as you wrap up this beautiful month, right? Write down 3 wins from this year. Recall I said if we've not had time to do an evaluation, this will be the time to do that. And then write down 3 things that you consider a win this year. And then reflect on how far they have brought you or how far you have come this year. And then finally, can you commit to sharing your story without fear or shame? Now, don't share the story that you're not comfortable with. You want to be careful the stories you share. Don't say, Joy says share the story and you go spill it. No, you want to be careful the story you share. A story you're comfortable with, a story that you've healed from, something that you want to help people, encourage people with. Always ask yourself, before you share anything, ask yourself, am I comfortable sharing this? 5 years, 10 years down the line, will I still look back and feel okay with this? So you don't want to overshare, right? You want to share within the area that you're comfortable with. And then I want you to look at yourself and appreciate yourself. Tap yourself and say, you've done so well. You've come this far. It's not easy being you. So let me tell you this tonight, if you don't know, you're doing so well. And it's not easy being you. Okay, I just want to thank you all for staying with us. Now we've come to the end of this program. If you're just joining us, not a problem. You can always watch the replay. This is an amazing topic you want to sit on and really reflect on. And I'm telling you, it will help you to move further on. And so thank you for always watching, for always sharing our replay, for always communicating, for making this interactive. I see you all. I don't take it for granted. Without you, there'll be no Friday night hangout. And I look forward to seeing you next week Friday, which will be the first Friday in the beautiful month of June, my birth month. So until next week Friday, from myself and every one of us at the Friday Night Hangout Studio, bye for now. Enjoy your weekend. Remember to smell the roses, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
In every movement that changes the world, there are voices that rise and hands that hold up the vision. She Speaks is more than a summit. It is a global call for women to rise, to lead, and shape the future. And behind this bold vision are partners who believe, partners who invest, amplify, and stand shoulder to shoulder with us. Today, we are honored to unveil the partners who are amplifying our message and helping us shape the future. Join us as we celebrate the power of collaboration and collective impact. From supporting women's leadership to creating platforms for impact, our partners are helping build a world where every woman's voice is heard. Together, we are unstoppable.